Folks watching movies right here since 1935, with the good times rolling up to 2017, when the grand old lady was almost torn down. But thanks to fundraising, it was saved by a group of community volunteers, folks like you. And now, the Westdale's a showpiece, a not-for-profit charitable organization restored to its full glory and heritage designated to boot. Cool. So then right from this very seat, you could check out way more than just great movies. There's all kinds of arts and culture, music, talks, performances, and of course, popcorn. But like in all good stories, there's an unexpected twist. 2020 hits and bam, the new normal, with stages going dark all over the world. Thank you. Now, it doesn't take a PhD in accounting to know no lights, no camera, no cash. Which means we need a little help from our friends to keep on keeping on. So if you can donate a little or a lot, it sure would help us keep the lights on, making you one of the heroes of this story. Stay tuned for the next chapter in the Westdale.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hamilton Originals with Ian Thomas. Take it away, fellas.
2, 3, 4. We've had some good times, baby, me and you. When it was all going down, we didn't have a clue. We were so busy making the past. Everything was going by so fast. Don't you wish that we could stash some time away? Some people gonna fill every moment they got with love and laughter. And some people gonna dedicate their lives to what might come after. Everybody's busy making the past, and everything's going by so fast. Don't you wish that we could stash some time away? To go to places we've passed by, do a little dance you never tried, admit some wrong you long denied, look at love in the eyes just a little longer. Everybody's busy making the past, and everything's going going by so fast. Don't you wish that we could stash some time away? Some time away. Some time away.
Nice. Stash some time away. Ian Thomas. Fantastic.
Crowd went nuts.
The crowd of 3 people went nuts there. Hey, welcome to the show, folks, and hope you're enjoying yourselves sitting there in your living room watching us. We're kind of lonely here without the audience, but we're good with that. We've got Ian here. I want to start by introducing his band. We've got Kevin Adamson over here on my right. There, he's waving at the camera. There, you see him. Now, Kevin, he's a killer keyboard player. Did you hear what he just played? It almost brought tears to my eyes. That little solo tinkly thing you did there. Yeah, that was great.
He tinkles well.
He tinkles well. He's played with Roger Hodgson. I saw that on YouTube, a few videos there with the Supertramp Master. I think you played the Royal Albert too, didn't you? Right?
I did, yeah.
That's big. That's big. That's bigger than the
He
Westdale.
did all of those European, did the Vienna Opera House and all those places, didn't you?
Wow.
I didn't do that one. but I
Okay.
did play.
Okay, every place but the Vienna Opera.
Yeah, everywhere but there. Yeah. It was a bit of a-
Okay. Kevin Adamson, folks. Check him out on YouTube. And on bass, we have Paul Inson. The guy, hey. The guy is a phenomenal musician. He not only plays bass, he orchestrates music. Paul's written music for Disney, for Nelvana, for our late friend Mike Northcott. I know you were quite connected with Mike there at Nelvana. He won a Gemini Award. I watched a bit of that movie Snow Walker. You did the music in that?
Yeah.
Very nice. So check out Paul Inson as well, like a phenomenal musician living right here in the midst of all of us regular people. So that's Kevin and Paul, but back to Ian, who's not regular. He's kind of an irregular guy. We go way back. Ian probably doesn't remember, but I played with my band in the basement of the YMCA. It would have been about 1967, and we opened for your band.
Pillar Square. That's what they called the club at the bottom of the YMCA.
That's right, Pillar Square.
Pillar Square, yeah.
Nice. What a memory.
I didn't do the brown acid.
Okay, that I did. That's a problem. Okay, the Pillar Square.
Yeah,
So
it was fun.
we go way back, but even before that, Ian, well, you started out in Dundas,
Yeah, I did.
born and raised.
Born in Hamilton.
Okay, close enough.
And then we were down at Duke University, I guess, between 56 and 59. And when we came back here in 59, we lived right on the Mac campus when my dad started as a prof at McMaster. And I had mentioned to the guys, I came to this theater to see the 10 Commandments when I was 9 years old.
Whoa, the 10 Commandments. I think the music was written by Randy Newman's uncle.
Lionel. Was it Lionel Newman?
Lionel Newman, I
Wow.
think. Yeah, one of my favorites. The 10 Commandments. I didn't quite follow that, but we're going to get into that religion thing a little bit later, so stay tuned. But, okay, so that started out in Dundas, and you started up with a folk group originally called Ian, Oliver, and Nora.
Well, it started off as Ian and Nora.
Oh, okay.
And
Oliver.
then Oliver joined us. Then we became Ian, Oliver, and Nora. Nora always got last billing for some reason.
Yeah.
And then Bob Deutsch joined us, and we became Ian, Oliver, Nora, and Bob.
And you thought, I better get a band name.
And I just,
It's getting long.
I had signed a deal with RCA, publishing deal and a recording deal, and it included that band. And it was the vice president of RCA, whose name was George Harrison.
George Harrison.
And he gave the name to the band, Tranquility Base, because of the moonshot.
They
And he
just
thought,
landed.
yeah, and it wasn't because he was a particularly astute. I think he became the vice president because he had a Beatles name. Because he had sold washing machines up until
before that?
he became the VP. So I was in a band with frilly shirts, playing with symphony orchestras with the name Tranquility Base. We had recorders and all these Renaissance instruments in the band, an electric harpsichord.
Yeah.
It was all frilly, fluffy, pappy, unmarketable stuff. And then when we were named by, a guy who had been selling washing machines, just months before, taking our career by the reins, I realized I was sunk.
Okay, that was it. It's Tranquility Base or nothing.
Yeah.
But that didn't last forever. I know eventually, I think you left to work at CBC.
Yeah, it was really fortunate.
Good.
Actually, you were telling the story a little earlier about I was out of work. I had left the band because it was a dead end. And Catherine was pregnant. My wife was pregnant with a child. And she looked at me and she said, "What are you waiting for the phone to ring? Get out and get a job. We got a kid. I don't care if you deliver pizzas." And bring, the phone rang. And it was Herman Terkstra who offered me a gig to manage the Palace and Capitol theaters.
So Ian was a manager of a theater, not unlike the Westdale.
Yeah, I knew all about popcorn and yeah. So, and while I was there, I was only there for 2 months. I went and applied for a job at CBC as a radio producer. And Tranquility Base had actually done some CBC broadcasts. We did one with the Toronto Symphony because we did the symphonic stuff, which meant, a gig once a year maybe. Wouldn't feed the family. And also we did a pop show, a live pop show down in Belleville. I think we opened for Diane Brooks and a big band. And the producer of that show was a guy named David Bird, who went on to form Canada Records, a jazz label with famous Gene Lees, famous jazz lyricist.
All right, and speaking of symphonic, just last week we had Boris Brott here, conductor of the HPO.
Yeah.
And I know you worked with them in the 70s, right?
I did. Boris had a good eye, and he saw, Tranquility Base was rehearsing for a show in the Crystal Ballroom, and he heard us and came up. I saw Nora and Nancy, the two girls in the band. I thought, I'd like to work with with this band.
This band.
So we became the in-resident rock band even though we're all fluff and harpsichords and recorders. But it was a wonderful opportunity, and I wrote my first orchestration for the Hamilton Philharmonic in that window in time.
And we're going to get into that a bit later because Ian's written all kinds of orchestration since then, but that was the first one, I guess, eh?
Yeah, the very sat there with the book of the ranges of the different instruments and what they call a Hummer.
Okay. Yeah, to bone up on the instruments there.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was kind of the 70s, I guess, and then we move into the 80s when things really started to happen in a bigger way with the album The Runner, I believe, right?
Well, actually, it happened in a big way with Painted Ladies in '73.
I'm sorry, that's right.
So that was the first solo album, which I recorded at nights while I was working at CBC in the days. But when I folded my band up in '79, I'd realized, keeping 10 guys on the road in Canada was not an economic discussion. So when I folded the band up, I got a kind of a stipend to stay home and write songs from the management company, publishing company, record company, all rolled into one ball. Definite conflicts of interest, but I had no choice. And so I sat back and wrote the album, The Runner, in that window. And virtually every song on that album came out by other artists. So it was just, it was a writer's blessing.
Yeah, The Runner, it produced, I'm thinking of the hits Right Before Your Eyes. No, that was actually before that.
Yeah, that was on third or fourth solo album, yeah.
But that got picked up by America. Hold On was picked up by Santana.
Chicago did Chains. Bon Jovi did a song called String and a Line. David Clayton Thomas did I Am the One. I think he was still Blood, Sweat, and Tears in that window. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really magical period in time for me as a songwriter.
Wow, that's great. The Runner. And that also seemed to bring into play a bit of acting, as I recall. Now, Ian's brother, if you folks at home aren't aware, is Dave Thomas, famous actor, famous for Beethoven and Stripes and all those funny movies that...
yeah, was he? Yeah, I think he was. He did have a bit part in Stripes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I didn't really bone up on Dave, but I know he's super famous as an actor, living in L.A. there, and I think he got you onto SCTV, right?
Well, yeah, it was him and Rick. Actually, Rick was a big fan because Rick Moranis was a DJ at Chum FM when Pilot was a hit, and that was his favorite song. And
I love that song.
So he said, Hold On was on the radio in Canada for me in that window, so the album, The Runner, had been released. And Dave called me. He said, I've been talking to Rick. He'd like to hear you come on the show and play Pilot. And if you did Hold On, you think that would help your album at all, help your sales? Would coming on the show do anything? And, they were already 90 minutes in the U.S. once a week and in Canada as well. So, yeah, it was just nepotism through and through. And
God bless him.
And it was just great fun. It couldn't have been more fun.
I can imagine.
They were like they were kind of extended family. Big Johnny Candy, I missed him in particular. And actually, John gave me the film score to his directorial debut called Hostage for a Day with George Wendt. So he was filming Canadian Bacon in Niagara Falls when I was doing that score, and every day he'd stop in at my barn studio in Winona to hear the dailies, and just sweet memories of that lovable guy.
Let's look back at that. I think we have a clip, and I got to say, I watched that whole show the other day. It's just hilarious. I wish I could have played the whole show because it's so good. But let's just watch this little clip. Have you got that there, Mark? Here we go.
Who are you guys?
We're from the Brian Johns Show.
Yeah. So which one is Brian Johns?
I'm Brian.
And I'm John.
We heard you talking about making a video disc, eh? And we'd like to help you with it.
Yeah, 'cause we're experts in our field, eh?
Are you guys Canadian?
How did you know that?
I'm a Canadian too, eh? I can spot a hoser a mile away.
Oh, but you don't sound Canadian when you're singing, eh?
No, that's because when you're in the music business, eh? You gotta use a voice like this so people can't tell that in actual fact you are a hoser.
Oh, man. Yeah, check that out on YouTube, the whole show. The whole show with John Candy and Johnny LaRue. And who was the host of, I forgot, he's smoking a cigarette, the mustache guy?
Joe Flaherty.
Joe Flaherty.
They make me giggle, those two.
Okay, so check that out on YouTube. And if you do check it out, I think you played this song on the show. We're going to do The Runner. You're going to do The Runner.
I didn't play The Runner on this show.
It was Hold On.
Yeah.
And Pilot.
Correct.
You said that earlier.
But we're going to do, what with all of the stuff going on around Terry Fox, it's kind of appropriate we do the runner.
Let's do the runner.
Okay.
Here we go. This is a good one.
Through the night, through the dawn, behind you another runner is born. Don't look back, you've been there. Feel the mist as your breath hits the air. And it's underneath the moonlight, passing some still. Your heart beats in the moonlight like a drum. And you will run your time, a shooting star across the sky, and you will surely cross the line to pass on the flame. Sun come up, sun go down, hear the feet, see the sweat on the ground. Watch your step, keep you cool, though you can't see what's in front of you. And it's underneath the moonlight, passing some still. Your heart beats in the moonlight like a drum. And you will run your time, a shooting star across the sky, and you will surely cross the line to pass on the flame. Cause you're a runner in a race, taking someone's place who's run. You're a runner in a race, and the only way it's won is to pass on the flame. And you will run your time, a shooting star across the sky, and you will surely cross the line to pass on the flame, 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 to pass on the flame. You will run your time.
The Runner. What a great song that is. Yeah. These guys are good. The Runner. All right, well, that was the 80s. I'm going to bring it up into the 90s here, and we can maybe chat a bit about the next band that you got going, the Boomers. I can't imagine how you came up with that name. The Boomers. You're all boomers, right?
We were all, well, that's our age bracket. I was on with Peter Zosky, who actually, I did an interview with him. I think it was in Germany at the time. I had to go to Germany to get interviewed on CBC.
Yeah.
And he thought it was sort of it was based on flatulence, the name. And the interview ended quite quickly because I said, I'm on the air with the great Peter Zosky, and you're opening with a fart joke?
What's with that?
So the interview kind of wrapped up fairly quickly then. I shouldn't have crossed wires with him like that.
Peter Zowski.
Yeah, God rest him.
So that was the Boomers, Rick Gratton on the drums, Bill Dillon, a great, great Hamilton guitarist. I got to get him on the show. And Peter Cardinelli on bass.
Wonderful players all.
Wonderful players, that's
Yeah.
for sure. So check them out on YouTube, the Boomers, or buy their records. It's such a good band. Yeah, the Boomers. So that kind of, back in those days, I'm talking the 90s, then you got into a little more acting in, with Red Green, I believe, the Red Green Show.
Yeah,
You hooked up with Steve Smith, who was on here a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, good guy, Steve. I had been doing character acting on commercials. Actually, they helped support my family for about 25 years. I started, I guess my first jingle was in '73. Ben McPeak was a big jingle writer in that area. And it was for Toronto Dominion. It was that old people like you and people like me. It was one of the first commercials I ever sang on. Probably I've done easily 1,000 commercials, I would think, over the years.
You did a few for us, if you recall, for my company. You did
That's
the
right.
Firkin Pubs series.
I was Clive Firkin
You were
for
Clive.
Firkin Pubs. That's right, for a number of years.
Yeah.
So that sort of, I was doing all these characters. It was just such great fun, and I couldn't believe there was actually a paycheck and residuals to go with it. And God bless them, a pension plan. Anyway, yeah, so that sort of, led into Steve giving me a call, and it was such a sweet invite. It was, Ian, I'm doing this Red Green thing, and it was, you want to come over and play? That was his invite. And so what do you have in mind for the guy? Well, he's a monster truck hound. His name's Dougie Franklin, and I like the sound of that. And so, yeah, I became a guy who judged a vehicle by the size of its tires. So-
Monster trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
guy.
it was great fun, but I did feel a little out of place because there were a lot of actors that could have used the work, and there weren't that many outlets. And Steve employed a lot of, Gordon Pinsent was on the show, and of course Patrick McKenna, a wonderful actor. He had Albert Schultz, and he had Graham Greene. And Graham Greene I had first met when he was a roadie for Crowbar, for God's sakes.
No way.
Yeah, and I was having dinner at Murray McLaughlin's house one night, and Graham was there, and this was after Dances with Wolves was a big
Right.
hit.
He was big in it. He was big in it.
He was fantastic in the role. And he said, wait a minute, we used to laugh our butts off. I said, the last time I saw you, we were loading out, it was called the Turret. It was at the University of Waterloo, or Laurier maybe. And the Turret was their big pub on the top floor. And I guess Graham and the boys were a little tired from the previous night, and they left the B3 up there, which they had to lug down 3 flights of stairs. And then Graham's hair was like right down to his butt, straight black, long black hair. And so, yeah, wonderful having a chance to hang with those guys. And I coerced Dave into coming on to be my character's brother for a couple of episodes. So,
Oh, gee, I missed that.
we just had so much fun. So very grateful to Steve and Morag, his gracious wife.
Yeah, behind every great man, there's an even greater woman, right? And it
Yeah.
was Morag for
Yeah,
sure.
you got that. She never really wanted to do the Smith and Smith show. But it was Steve's dream, right? So
Yeah.
she stuck with him, and so fantastic. Good
Well,
folks.
I think we have a clip, Mark, from the Red Green Show.
Oh, good.
Showing Dougie Franklin doing a little. This is the religious part.
Well, Red, there is another source of wisdom, and one I might add that has a little bit less MSG. You want to know how to live your life? live by the 10 Commandments. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I do too, Dougie.
Yeah.
Well, so do I. I do too. Thou shalt not kill. I never kill. No, and of course there's thou shalt not commit adultery.
Well, that, of course, is for, you married types. you know. Then again, there's thou shalt not steal. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And there's the others.
Oh, you ought to watch that show too, folks. That whole show is hilarious. Oh, yeah, Red Green. Well, let's do a couple of songs from the Boomers era, I think. Time to hear some music. Let's do that. I love this song, Good Again. Wanna do that?
Yeah, this is a sweet little song about loss and learning to cherish the memory of someone in a place where it is no longer a pain, but celebrates the joy of having had that time with them. And so the song's called Good Again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is life. Sometimes it doesn't seem like much, but it's life nonetheless. And there is warmth to the touch. Oh, you'll cry when some leave before their time. But if you keep a little something they left behind, you'll feel good again. Ooh, friends, so many friends walking on by all through your life, like shadows in a shuffling line. You'll come across when you forgot every once in a while. Time changed the face, but it didn't touch the smile that makes you feel good again. Each and every moment floats away on the wind. You got to learn to let it go, let a new one begin. Oh, you'll cry when some leave before their time. But if you need a little something, it's right there in your mind, and you'll feel good again. Ooh, you'll feel good again. You'll feel good again.
Again. Very nice. I love that song. It's such a pretty melody. Let's do another one while you're at it there. You got to know another one. You got to know. Right? Okay. This is a song called You Gotta Know. And I'm allowed to play on this one, so I'm going to pick up my guitar.
Absolutely. This is a song about, just general dysfunction of individuals. And I write these in second person quite often, but I'm in there somewhere too. I just didn't want to take all the heat. This is called You Gotta Know This Isn't Working. You ready there?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Start without me.
You're either searching for a pick or you're having a good time all to yourself.
I got it. Yeah, that too.
You got your share of problems, kinda self-inflicted hell. Will you come with so much baggage I feel like a porter in your hotel? Well, it could have been your childhood, some kind of hope you couldn't live up to. Maybe it's the stars or the moon in your sign, or maybe it's just you. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know I can't relax. You gotta know I need some distance. I want you off of my back. Yeah, you gotta know, you gotta know, you gotta know. Well, you're into self-improvement, and there's so much to be gained, but you don't apply a single thing you learn. Then you wonder why you're still the same, and you don't have a clue what you sound like, or how many people you hurt. You say you don't intend those messages you send when you treat somebody like that. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know I can't relax. You gotta know I need some distance. I want you off of my back. Yeah, you gotta know, you gotta know, you gotta know. Hurt your feelings with everything I've had to say. I could have done it behind your back in that civilized way. Maybe if someone had said something sooner instead of avoiding a scene. But then again, people seldom change from everything they've been. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know this isn't working. You gotta know I can't relax. You gotta know I need some distance. I want you off of my back. So I gotta tell you this ain't working, in case you misunderstood. You'll be waving, I'll be walking. My life should be so good. Yeah, you gotta know, you gotta know, you gotta know, you gotta know.
Gotta know. Oh, that's a great tune. You gotta know. Well, enough about music, though. Let's talk about books.
Okay.
Hey, I gotta say, like, I'm a big book reader, and I finally read both of Ian's books, and I gotta say, folks, you gotta check them out. If you're a reader, some people aren't. If you're not, no big deal. There's Ian's first book, Bequest. I tried to buy that online, but it sold out, so I had to read that on my phone through Kindle.
Oh, no kidding.
I bought the
Available
Kindle
on Kindle.
version.
I got to speak to my publisher about that.
Yeah, because it's not available right now. Can you pass me that? I've got his second book. See, here's proof. I read it. Well, maybe I didn't read it, but I read the Coles notes of it anyway. No, this is a great book, especially if you're a musician, especially if you've ever been on the road, or if you're kind of religious. I mean, it's kind of a time travel thing. It reminded me a bit of my wife's favorite show, Outlander. You know, there's a little time traveling thing going on there, but excellent, excellent books. So Ian, tell us how you got into writing books. Like, it's a stretch for a songwriter.
Well, actually, most songwriters I know are you know, Murray McLaughlin, case in point, a good storyteller, and
for sure.
and that's part of that traditional folk thing. They were all stories, you know.
That's right.
The real traditional, you know, Tom Dooley, true story about a Confederate
Talking
soldier.
blues. Yeah.
Killed his wife, you know, House of the Rising Sun. These are 150 years old, some of these songs. And so for me, it was, I've always been interested in anything creative. I'd actually like to take some painting classes at the Valley School of Arts. That's another thing I'd like to try. But I sold my first screenplay that to Polygram many years ago. And I found that as an exercise, not as satisfying as a song. You know, they say that music is, of all the arts, is the most effective because it can actually get into your soul without interference of your intellect, right?
That's right.
You just
Right
listen to
brain.
it's in. So after writing this screenplay that I found a little unsatisfying, I was curious as to whether more words in novel form would be the buzz. And so I started on Bequest. I had been fighting an environmental war, which I realized the only way you could win an environmental argument was in fiction, because this was during the Harris administration, and he had gutted the Ministry of the Environment in that window, and everybody who used to work for the Ministry of the Environment went to work for industry to how to work all the loopholes in environmental law. And at that point in time, we were fighting, trying to put an industrial waste dump into a limestone quarry on the Niagara Escarpment, which was a world UNICEF or biosphere.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that showed much of a sense of trusteeship, and of course this thing was fixed all the way up to the provincial level, and public participation was just a frustrating joke. And so I got all of my frustration out. The environmental argument actually wins in my book.
Yeah, it's good. And I gotta say, it's so exciting. I mean, it's gripping. I couldn't put it down. I read it in 2 days, which is pretty quick for me. But it's a thriller kind of. Like, people are getting killed and all
Yeah,
kind.
not too far from the truth.
Yeah.
You know, when you figure that waste removal was kind of the gold rush, and is. I mean, look at us as Canadians. We got to be ashamed of ourselves. There's a couple of huge tankers that are getting sent back here. They've traveled halfway around the world with Canadian garbage, and they were trying to dump it somewhere. I think it might have been China or one of the somewhere in around Malaysia possibly, and then finally they had some environmental laws that, no, we don't want the Canadians' garbage. So they're sending it back here. So, you know, we're all guilty of this.
Yeah, definitely.
So in some respects, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of immoral stuff that goes on, and that's really just unbridled capitalism. You know, we all sort of tip our hats. Well, you got to make a buck, you know.
Jobs. And
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, jobs versus any kind of future for your grandchildren. Go figure. But that's where we're at. And so that was the machine that drove that, in part. And the other part was there was this odd little thing that ran in my family called the site.
Oh, the site.
And my Uncle Mog, that's what we call him, Morgan Thomas, he was my great-grandfather's brother. And he was a spiritual medium. And you know, he'd be talking to you. I went there with a guy from a record company, Barry Sage, and he had never met him before, and I knocked on his door, and he shuffled, "What can I do for you?" And I said, I've been told to come over and meet you before you die, Uncle Mog. I'm John's great-grandson. And my father's name was John. Oh, you're John's boy. Well, come on in. And then he stopped at Barry and he said, "Fellow standing next to you, been dead some 2 years now. Want you to know he's fine, boy. He's wearing coveralls. I think his last name is Johnson." And it turned out his father had a partner. His father was deceased. His father had a name, Johnson, and they were carpenters. And he'd been gone for a couple of years. So Barry Sage's face was just, now I'm a skeptic. I'm a doubting Thomas by name and by nature.
All right.
But damn, that stuff is entertaining and fascinating.
Yeah, and
So-
you got to think maybe some people do have the site.
Well,
You got to wonder.
yeah, I there's enough anecdotal information out there that I don't think you can defeat scientifically. So what the heck? Hedge your bets, I say.
So check those books out, The Lost Chord and Bequests. I highly recommend them. But back to music, let's get into a little more recently, Lunch at Allen's.
Yeah.
Now that's, where did that name come from?
Well, Murray McLaughlin and I used to get together at Allen's on the Danforth. It was one of his favorite watering holes. And we'd get together there to grouse about the music business. You know, we were pretty much on the trash heap of the music business, which keeps moving on to the, you know, basically the secretions of the youth.
Yes.
So there we were griping, you know, that Britney Spears could sell, you know, a gazillion CDs where our navels could hold a couple, you know. So it was just, and then Jordan started joining us right around the time I was on the board of the Songwriters Association, and then Murray had a near-death thing with ended up with quadruple bypass when he finally came true too. And he had decided that he had a message, and the message was, if you don't use the gifts, he had quit playing in that window. If you don't use the gifts God gives you, God gets pissed off.
Yeah.
So he said, I'd like to put a songwriter's thing on stage, but not one of those where one guy plays his song and the other three, you know, sort of try to look interested, but are just waiting for their turn. And said, I want it to be interactive where we're all picking and grinning with each other. Nice. And so he asked me first, and then we called Mark, and then we got Cindy Church from Bible Hill, Nova Scotia to join us to round the four out. That's how that began. And we crossed the country pretty much every year for 15 years.
Yep, 15 years, Lunch at Allen's.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to a show that you put on here. Well, maybe it didn't lead to it, but it was similar. Here at the Westdale called Creative Soul.
Yeah.
Which involved Murray, Sylvia, I think, Tyson, Dan.
Yeah, I did.
Similar sort of thing.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a little thing that came out of some brainstorming with Fred Fuchs and Brian Torsney, the late Brian Torsney, wonderfully creative mind.
Yep, Fred's brother-in-law.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we love Brian.
Oh, sweet, sweet soul. And so, yeah, we thought, wouldn't it be fun? And then we were originally going to do that at different wineries, which suited me to a T. And then Fred got involved with this beautiful theater, and got Bob Crockford and Dundas on board and a whole pile of other people. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be wonderful to do them in this beautiful old theater? So we did 3 of them, and we have yards of footage, and we're going to put them together, and hopefully over the next few months.
Nice. All right. I think we have a clip of that. Do we, Mark? The Creative Soul. We could show that real quick. Okay, he's on it. Mark is on it.
Creative Soul series is brought together by Ian Thomas and is an opportunity for him to engage with famous Canadian songwriters and speak to them about what inspires them, give people an idea of the creative songwriting process that the 3 interviewees have developed over their many, many years in the business, and to describe how they have created some of the very famous and iconic songs that they put on the market.
Wow. Sylvia Tyson, Dan Hill. You had some great folks on that.
And Murray, yeah.
Murray, yeah. Well, gee, folks, that brings us almost to the close of the show. But we got one more song, and it's going to be a good one. But before we get to that, I just want to say thanks to all you folks for watching on a Monday night. Probably have nothing better to do, but I'm glad you're watching here in your living room or wherever. I also want to say thanks to our sponsors, Marie Phillips of Next Steps Planning and IPC Securities, Judy Marcells, who's the one person we allow in the audience. She's back there somewhere, Judy. Judy Marcells Real Estate. Nathan Fleet is on the camera here. We love that guy. He's not just a great cameraman, he's a great musician, and that's why we need him here. We've got Norm Thornton on sound. In a couple of weeks, Norm's wife, Karen Thornton's going to be on the show, so you want to stay tuned for that. Fantastic. 2 weeks, Monday. We've got Patrick Maillet from Clearcable working the online. Mark Scola. Who am I missing? Neil and Dan, the staff here at the Westdale. And next week, I think we've got Rick Emmett. Now, I got to say, Rick texted me today saying his arthritis is not great in his left hand, and if his show was tonight, he wouldn't be here. But it's next Monday, so he's going to tell me by Wednesday how his hand's doing. So hopefully he's here next week, and if not, don't worry. We're going to have someone else that's just as good. But that's about it for the show. I just want to finish off with the song that took you to the top, I guess. Maybe you can tell us how this came about.
Pretty much autobiographical. I was a kid in a very academic home. My father, a philosophy professor, former Baptist minister. And here I was in a rock and roll band playing in, let's say, some of the less than stellar establishments in Ontario.
Yes.
Often sharing dressing rooms with hookers and strippers.
Whoa.
And so it was culture shock for this kid from Dundas. I don't think we had a hooker in Dundas or a stripper.
Ever.
No.
No.
And the Roxy Theater wasn't known for that. It was pretty much, and of course, when this came out, I already had a kid, so if I couldn't come home, I felt awful. I felt like I had deserted my family. So this song came out of all of that, and I wrote it while I was still at CBC.
Oh yeah.
And recorded it, and then when it came out, I quit CBC, and it's been all downhill since then.
Okay. I'll bet. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. Ian Thomas, Kevin Adamson on keyboards, Paul Inson on the bass. We love you guys. All right. Painted Ladies. Let's take it home, fellas.
I remember sitting out just to see what I could see. Streetcars rolling by and airplanes flying high, they all meant nothing to me. No one ever looked my way or knew that I was there. I kept walking and the rain kept raining until all the streets were bare. Ooh, feeling fine, mama. Painted ladies and a bottle of wine, mama. Ooh, feeling good, mama. They took my money like I knew they would. La 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 la. City lights were shining on me through my window pane. I kept thinking about the day when I'd be home again. Rocking chairs and summer fairs, swimming in the sea. I kept drinking, sinking, till there was nothing left of me. Feeling fine, mama. Painted ladies and a bottle of wine, mama. Ooh, feeling good, mama. They took my money like I knew they would. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Thanks for watching us, folks. We'll see you all next Monday. Thank you kindly. Ian Thomas. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the birds and bees.
Ah, good. Well, that was great.
Thanks for having us.